Hey everybody. Um, Thank you first and foremost. Thank everybody that hung out with me last week. Really appreciate the any support. Um, so anyway, I'm happy to be back. I told you I'd be doing this every week, and this week has been wild, man. Like, so I'm going through Zach Groove's. He's got a couple ebooks out, and I've been going through them, just shedding stuff. It's like I really like how he plays, and it's always a good idea to dig into some different playing styles and stuff if you're interested in growing yourself. I think it's always a good idea to study and to get out of your comfort zone. He's really good. But anyway, I trying to do the ebooks, and like I'm trying to see different examples of people playing similarly, right? Like, because when you think about Zach Grooves, that puts you in the category with like Richard Spavin, Jarvis Yoakley. So like there's a good J.D. Beck. There's a lot of examples of that style of playing. What Jarvis Yoakley calls it is typewriter drumming, which I thought that was clever, and I like that as well. But so trying to get like some good examples, right? So I can see how what I can and can't do, and what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And all anybody's talking about is the celebrity stuff where everybody's going to jail, and I don't understand why everybody is acting so surprised, especially given the people that we're talking about, right? Like, and I mean, we've all supported their lifestyles and encouraged it, and whether you want to accept that or not is irrelevant. Because we did listen back, like I remember freshman year in high school, Life After Death was Notorious B.I.G.'s latest offering, right? And I loved that album, man. It was super good. I still like it, but like I also have no room to act appalled or surprised when I find out that Diddy is allegedly doing a bunch of crazy stuff. Like, go back to the song Hypnotize if you don't believe me. What's the opening line? At my arraignment, a note for the plaintiff, your daughter's tied up in a Brooklyn basement. Face it, not guilty. That's how I stay filthy. Like, and then you're surprised to find out that the people who sang songs about kidnapping and murder are propagating systems that make use of kidnapping and murder. Like, I don't condone it and I don't applaud it, but I don't think we have any right to act like surprised and like, oh my gosh, how could you? Like, it seems so silly to me. And again, like, I'm not anybody, and by all means click through to the next video, but like, we have been glorifying this criminal lifestyle for since the 70s, man. Like look at what we've made our biggest hits. Goodfellas, Godfather, Scarface, The Departed, Wolf of Wall Street. You know, there's a ton. Eyes Wide Shut. Like it's never been a secret that gross and inappropriate things happen in the elite circles. I feel like we just have more access to actually see it, and we're all fine with it in some respect, as long as it's on like a CD, or you know, it's on just some audio recording and it doesn't affect us. But now we've gotten to a point where people are pointing out the grossness of it, and then people are starting to feel guilty, and you know, nobody wants to be the one that is bolstering these artists, and then have someone look at you and think like, boy, what are you up to, right? But the sorry, I needed gum. But we've glamorized and glorified the idea of criminal enterprises growing exponentially. And like, look at The Departed, man. Like, it's like an almost 3-hour movie about the mafia in Boston, and the picture is painted of this like borderline glamorous lifestyle, and you see Jack Nicholson with the two girls in the one scene, and he throws all the coke on the whatever it is, and tells him, don't come up until you're numb, or I don't remember what the line exactly was, but like, that's fine. How many scenes in that were people being murdered, or things like, or like awful, like, do you think that those two beautiful young women were gonna have sex with Jack Nicholson out of desire? Because I don't. I imagine it was a cash transaction, unless they take credit or Venmo or whatever. But like, and most women and men that I know don't volunteer themselves for sex work. It's typically some form of trafficking. So like, it's kind of everywhere, man. Like, we're exposed to it a great deal. And like I said, I've got kids, and I love my kids, and I love Madison, and man, I don't know what I would do if something ever happened to any of them. And I also like those movies, and I listen to hip hop and what have you. And I'm not a pundit, and nor am I here to make a statement or a stand. I'm a musician, and I'm here to play music. But it's just been so all-encompassing this whole week. It's all anybody wants to talk about, and it's to me, it's like why are we talking about it? And then we have all these like other people who had nothing to do with any of them weighing in and pointing to other people. It's like, yeah, man, we all know that that people are disgusting. And like when you got famous by singing about your ability to sell drugs, and like how many artists have outright said that they were like a pimp, and we just chalk it up as slang. And you know, everybody just moves on, and they're like, yeah, I don't know what you heard about me, but a bitch can't get $1 out of me. And we're singing about sex trafficking, and then we're surprised when people are being trafficked. And I don't understand why it's taking up so much of the bandwidth of the wider internet, with all these people that are really surprised and outraged. And like, yeah, certainly be outraged. Also be outraged quietly. Nobody's revealing anything that's like groundbreaking. We know that these people were criminals. We knew that they were criminals when they got famous. What we all hoped was that they would get famous and put money back into the areas that they grew up and build infrastructure and help the people, and put their criminal enterprises behind them now that they have gained legitimacy. And I mean, that's a pretty big ask, I think. It's tough. I think it would be tough to ask that people change 180 degrees, right? Like, you were this criminal. We're idolizing people who have been shot in bad drug deals and who have killed people and who have done a lot of prison time. And then we're like, no, don't be that anymore because my kid's watching you. And I don't want my kid to do those things. And I think that's that's a hard ask, right? Like, you knew what you were getting when you signed them up, right? Like, they weren't shy about it. Nobody was like, no, you know, I'm just a really good math student. That's how I learned how to rap. I mean, maybe except for like Donald Glover. I think Kanye was really smart too. So is J. Cole. I'm not saying that this is like uniform. Every rap artist is some way connected to some terrible thing. But we know the ones that were, like, they were not shy about it. They came out and they made their money by essentially bragging about how awful and tough they are, and all the gross things that they did to feed their families. And it's like, and you sympathize and you listen to it and you're like, yeah, man, that sounds terrible. I don't know what it feels like to be a disenfranchised black teenager in the inner city. And you know, you feel bad, and you listen to it and you're like, man, I'm glad this guy got out. And then we just kind of put it to rest in our head, and then everybody's shocked when they're like, oh, they didn't put it behind them. They didn't climb out of the gutter. They stayed right where they were and continued doing the gross shit that they were doing before they became household names. It's ridiculous to think in terms of you know, people being, in essence, moldable and changeable. And it's really like we're asking them to be molded to something that they didn't ever ask for. They didn't want it. Like, nobody, I don't recall ever hearing in any rap song or any hip hop song about, man, I hope that one day I will be able to be a cool person on TV for young white kids in the suburbs. Like they were making music with their friends about the things that they were seeing in their neighborhoods. And they were making music for each other, really. Like, it wasn't geared toward me or, any of that. And then we take it from them, and then demand that they do it the way that we want it done. We're like, well, you can't. Now you have to say things and be a part of this, and then this is what you get. This is what you get. People are ignorant, and they assume that the fact that they have money or that they're in a position of power or they've climbed some hierarchy to the top, that they have this supreme authority, and that people will do what they say. And they have that kind of or else mentality, but your or else mentality doesn't do much to people who have had to answer the or else many times. Like, you're not going to intimidate a guy like Diddy or DMX or what. You're not going to intimidate them into following your rules or being your person by simply just telling them, like, well, now you have to be a good boy for all these kids. And then the whole thing with the underage kids, man. I can name what was it? There was a DMX song where his line is, if you got a daughter older than 15, I'm gonna rape her, take her right there and in front of you. I don't remember the whole line, but like, and then watch movies like Leon the Professional and Kids and Hard Candy and Hannah. And there's so many where it's like these really uncomfortably weird relationships between young girls and adult men. Yeah, I haven't seen it vice versa with like a weird like pseudo-sexual relationship with a young boy and a woman. Or at least not in anything I've ever seen. But that's not to say that it doesn't exist. I just it's somewhat irritating to listen to people's outrage about things that that we were fine to look the other way on for a very long time, and now suddenly it's in fashion to be outraged and to find your voice and your platform, and everybody wants to take their shots and they're looking for their 15 minutes. But I don't think that the people who are so outraged are any better. What is it that your outrage is doing? It's trying to capitalize off somebody who is trafficking in minors and allegedly and committing these horrific crimes, and that's what you're gonna cash in, get your 15 minutes from. And then what are you gonna do? What happens when all that money comes to you? Are you the Disney prince / princess? Are you going to sing to your woodland critters while you clean your house? Or are you going to go wild and do a bunch of drugs and party. And I don't know that anybody has really the right to be outraged about anything, because everybody's got their gross things. Like, what if we watch you long enough, you're going to do something that's going to piss somebody off, and that's pretty universal, man. Like, everybody's got their skeletons. So can we get off of celebrities being naughty and go back to playing music, please? And just everybody be a good human, and we'll all be fine. But anyway, so it's been a bitch and a half to try to find creative content over the past couple weeks, because sorry, I was getting a message. Because everybody's been so focused on what's going on with the celebrities. But nonetheless, I've still been practicing and working on. There's some really cool paradiddle licks that Zach has in his Chops to Get You Fired book. I've been grinding those out. That's what I don't do solos. I just kind of play stream of consciousness in the beginning of the videos. It's really just whatever I've been working on, or wherever I am. That's why I call this What I Got So Far, because none of us are finished products. We're all trying to reach our final form. But and you saw some of the licks that are in his book. I was trying to incorporate some of that stuff into my playing. I really like that typewriter thing, as Jarvis Yoakley calls it. And as you can see, I put these big fat snare drum things, the auto tuners. I was talking about those last week, about how much I like them, and I think they do so much they do so much for the sound that I like using them. I switched out snare drums too. I actually switched out snare drums specifically because I got some new snare wire. I got the Canopus. The one that's on here now is the Canopus vintage snare wire, and I'm gonna do a full video for Canopus, changing the snare wire on my other snare, and that one's the backbeat wire. It's the one that I want to say Keith Carlock uses. He's also a Canopus.